Hi, this is Eternal King here, bringing you another LOR video today. And we do have the nice Bilgewater backsplash here from Rising Tides, so good vibes on today's video. LOR is a hell of a game, and I think this initial Rising Tides background that they made was probably the nicest thing that they've ever done on the LOR team, so it's cool to see it back. Talking about changes and new decks that are becoming popularized. So previously in my last video I had talked about how Undir had phased out of Demacia piles because Victor Aphelios was countering it essentially, right? So Aphelios would come down and play Gravitum, and if you don't know, Gravitum stuns a unit, and then they would also, hard run Hushes and things like that. And then the Undir would have basically nothing to do because you would pile all these buffs on him and he would never swing. And if he did swing, he would, get hushed, and so it would be pointless to swing. So, Victor Aphelios was doing very well, Undir was doing badly. As the, when I talk about the standard meta, the reason why I never talk about standard is because it is locked in. Standard never changes. Standard basically gets decided in a couple days, and the decks that are good at the beginning of the season are the decks that are good at the end of the season, and in fact, decks that were good seasons ago are still playable now. Like if you want to play Lurk in Standard and you were playing Lurk in Standard, 5 seasons ago, you can play Lurk in this season of Standard and still have it be a perfectly functional deck. So there's not much to really cover. Eternal, on the other hand, its meta functions like a circle. Basically it goes round and around and around, and there aren't like best decks so much as there are strategies and counters. So obviously Demacia piles being very, very strong because they are the king of board-based value trading and things like that, and strikes and big tempo 6 drops and all that. So the Eddie Demacia piles are very good. So now we're seeing the counter. Like, what is the counter to the Eddie Demacia piles? Well, it is alt Wincons, and that's what the title of this video is going to be. It's going to be alt Wincons, namely Bandle Tree. So for those that don't know, Bandle Tree basically says that once you've played allies from 10 plus regions, you just win the game next round. So this entire deck is a control pile that is designed to counter mid-range Demacia piles. So I'm going to go through it card by card because some of these inclusions are going to seem complicated, but everything here makes a lot of inherent sense to me in terms of what it's trying to do and why it's good. Specifically into the Demacia pile matchup, which again, there's probably like 3 Demacia pile decks, 4 if you count Undir, that you could potentially run into at some point. So knowing that a deck that is a hard counter to those piles does exist is going to be good for the people who watch my videos. I won't need to play it because, again, I feel confident enough into most stuff that I don't need to like hard tech, but if you wanted to say like climb to the top rank in Eternal ladder right now, if you wanted to be number 1, the best in the game ever, running a deck like this is going to be your best bet for countering every single Demacia player out there, which is, a big part of the meta. So first card is Group Shot. So Group Shot is just a ping, and it's a cheap flock activator. That is literally all it's doing in this deck. It's not a value ping. It doesn't do anything useful. It's just a ping that is there to activate flock and essentially deal with the aggro matchup and deal with the mid-range matchup. So that's all the value this card needs. Next card is Pie Toss. And obviously if you have a wide board, say like Nora managed to swing in a couple times, and then you played Bandle City Mayor, and then, it played Portal Palooza, it's entirely possible that this deck is wide enough to activate Group Shot. But I'll be honest, I think a lot of the time this is just getting played on a 1-drop in the aggro matchup, like Ziggs Poppy and stuff like that. So Group Shot, just a normal ping, nothing special. It's a flock activator. Pie Toss, again, cycle ping. It's a flock activator. Armed Acquisitioner. So basically people are starting to hard run Explore cards, and I would highly recommend that when you want to counter this deck that you hard run Explore cards, because you essentially use it to pull out the landmark destruction, right? So Explore cards being very good right now. It'll beat the mirror into this deck. It'll heal you into a burn matchup, potentially remove keywords, potentially deal with like a Jax or something, remove his equipment. So, and it's a 3-1 body, which is fine. And at the end of the day, it's also a multi-region card. So very good for Bandle Tree. Great card. Grubble Slug, again, it's just a card that you get to play. It's just an attune 2-drop, and the whole point of this deck is that none of the cards matter. You're gonna look at this and you're gonna see like a pile of cards, and I'm telling you right now that none of these cards matter in the deck until what we get to at the end. So again, Group Shot, it's a ping, just play it, doesn't matter. Pie Toss, it's a ping, play both of them, it doesn't matter. Play your Phlox, play your Armed Acquisitioner, pull what you need to from it, doesn't matter. Disintegrate, obviously, so Group Shot, Disintegrate, Pie Toss, Disintegrate, so triple Phlox, triple Disintegrate, and then, you know, double pings. So cash outs, cash out, ping, ping, you know, a card tutor that doesn't matter, that trades well, an attune card that trades well and doesn't matter. Nora, a card that swings into your opponent's Nexus and cycles and doesn't matter. Pokey, and it's also multi-region. Well, no, she's not multi-region, so again, it really is just a tool to generate a bunch of chump blockers. Because again, Nora herself doesn't matter. Pokey Stick, it's a ping that cycles into Disintegrates and Phlox and then doesn't matter. Bandle City Mayor is a card that manifests a multi-region follower, but again, it chumps and it doesn't matter. Kalshuri Swipe, it's actually not bad as a one-of. I was saying before that Kalshuri Swipe is actually a pretty decent card and is actually better than a lot of the 3-mana kill cards, because even in this deck where it's all like, you know, cycle units and pings, there is a situation where like maybe you draw weird and you need to play the Kalshuri Swipe as a Mystic Shot. So pretty good kill card. It's my preferred kill card Noxus in the 3-mana slot. I prefer Kalshuri Swipe over any of the other 3-mana kill cards. Bandle Tree is basically the big win con of the deck. So you play the 10 multi-region followers, Bandle Tree flips, Wall Up as a stun, Aloof Travelers. So again, this is literally just Eddie tech. So you play this and it removes the opponent's tempo 6 drops and obviously accelerates Bandle Tree, but mostly it's there to chump block and remove tempo 6 drops. So like as you can see, that this is a deck that is exceptionally well tuned to deal with very specific things. It deals with, you know, Broadwing cheaply, any formidable units that the Demacia player represents, any, you know, high tempo, mid-rangey followers that the Demacia player represents. This deck is going to chew them alive very easily. Disintegrate can easily kill higher value things in the 6-mana slot. And again, Nora will likely hit the Nexus once when Broadwing comes down. So like, yes, she'll die instantly into the Broadwing next turn, but just getting one, just getting the Mysterious Portal in there is good enough, just cycling. And then you can just, as soon as they, you know, drag the Nora, you Phlox or Disintegrate when they drag the Nora. There's nothing they can do about that. Yeah, and then Gnar and Poppy, it's more multi-region followers that are designed to accelerate Bandle Tree and look like they're presenting a threat, but they're not really presenting a threat in this specific deck. There aren't enough units for the Poppy to do anything. And then again, the Gnar is not really doing anything either. So none of the cards in this deck actually do anything. It's all cheap removal, cycle units, and then a win con, and that's it. That's it. And so, you know, if you were to ask me, is this deck better than Nora Swain? Well, it is doing better than Nora Swain. That doesn't mean that it's a better deck. Swain is going to lose to a Demacia card pile because Swain can get killed by strikes, and Swain can get tempo 6 dropped. Which, when I say tempo 6 drop, I'm talking about a 6 drop that has a play effect, like, for example, capture a big unit. That's you know, a 6 drop that exists in Demacia that allows you to, Captain Arnica allows you to capture a big unit. So there are 6 drops with various effects that are very powerful. So that's going to deal with Swain very, very well. So while Swain is a better and more reliable card and a better and a more reliable win con, in this deck that is designed to 100% punish one specific matchup, this is a better deck into, you know, it's a you know, OTK control pile that is designed to deal with the mid-range tempo pile. And that is the extent of this deck, and that is what this deck succeeds at. And it has a low curve, and everything is designed to get you there faster. You play the Bandle Tree on 3, The Bandle tree flips as quickly as humanly possible, while you're also removing things for tempo as fast as humanly possible. You're cycling for value as fast as humanly possible. And even if you blow your entire hand, because there isn't actually that much value in this deck, there's Pokey Stick for cycle, Portapalooza for cycle, Aloof Travelers cycles. Not really, because you still have to play. You still go -1 on playing the Aloof Travelers. Bandle, it's all about Bandle Tree. Bandle Tree is the value in this deck. Bandle Tree generates you a multi-region follower in hand when it gets played. So, like, this deck is all in on Bandle Tree. So how do you counter this deck? How do you counter this do-nothing control pile that is designed to counter the do-nothing mid-range tempo pile? Well, the answer is really simple. You get rid of Bandle Tree. If you get rid of Bandle Tree, this deck literally does nothing. Assuming so, talk about like good regions into this. PNZ, I'm a big PNZ guy. PNZ will do great into this, just like pure PNZ. Nora comes down and you Mystic Shot her. And then the other PNZ card that you run is the 3 of Aftershock. So you run 3 Aftershocks in your PNZ deck, and then basically Bandle Tree is going to instantly die before it gets any value. And that's all you have to do. If you look at my Jace Lux deck, the way that I teched it ages ago to be actually useful in Eternal was the 3 Aftershocks, right? 3 Sharp Sights, 3 Mystic Shots, 3 Aftershocks. This is going to do pretty well into the Nora pile, right? Nora's going to die. Bandle Tree is going to die. Then they're going to have a bunch of units that don't do anything, which you can kill off with your units, and then you should just instantly win the game. You can Shock Blast the Nora when it comes down and kill Nora and the Bandle City Mayor at the same time. Yeah, that matchup should be like auto-concede for them. But again, like, when I talk about the Eternal meta, it's not about the decks that are the best. It's about the decks that are doing the best currently. And so this deck is winning like 61% because it counters Demacia piles, right? Galio, right? You talk about like the Eddie pile. Galio comes down. Well, you got Disintegrate for Galio, right? Galio comes down on 7. Doesn't matter. He's getting disintegrated. Doesn't matter. You can kill. You can trade in the Nora and then flock the Broadwing. Typically the meta Demacia pile has 0 landmark removal. So as long as Bandle Tree sticks, which it will because the opponent is a Demacia player, it will generate infinite units and it will eventually flip and win the game. So that's all that has to happen. All they have to do is hard mull for Bandle Tree in this deck. And if you have the Nora in the opening hand, you keep the Nora, hard mull for the Bandle Tree, and then like you're done. You've won the game into meta Demacia. As the Demacia player, is there any, intelligent choice, decision making that you can do to counter this deck? Well, absolutely. You would have to be playing Scholarly Pioneer. You play Scholarly Pioneer as a 3 of, and then as soon as you play Scholarly Pioneer for tempo, even if you haven't seen the tree come down yet, you still hard pick the landmark removal. And you'll know because this 3-way split here is very distinctive. Like Nora, Gnar, Poppy, it's Bandle Tree. This is a Bandle Tree deck. There is no world where this isn't a Bandle Tree deck. So you hard pick the landmark removal as the Demacia player using your massive mid-range tempo brain, and you just instantly delete Bandle Tree. And you will actually outvalue this deck without Bandle Tree because there's nothing else going on here. There's just cheap removal, and Nora's getting killed by Broadwing, and so you're going to massively outvalue this deck. Massively outvalue this deck. This deck cannot win into an intelligent player. It will win into a normal average Demacia pile player, where again it's big stats and it strikes to kill things, and that's what the best Demacia piles do right now is big stats, strikes to kill things, and tempo 6 drop, and that's all that deck does. And this deck is cheap removal, units that cycle, and then a 3-mana Wincon. And so that's what it is. One strategy is designed to counter the other, and it does so very reliably. The reason why it's 61% and not like 70% or 80% into your average Demacia player is because even if you hard mulligan for the Bandle Tree, sometimes you just don't get it. And if you hard mull for the Bandle Tree and play Portapalooza, you still might not get it. It might be in the bottom 3 cards of your deck. And in the instance where the Bandle Tree is in the bottom 3 cards of your deck, this deck just instantly loses because it doesn't do anything. But the other thing is that you can just run the Aftershocks as a 3 of. And you can run Aftershock and Aphelios. Nothing's stopping you. I just don't... The average Aphelios player won't do that either because they have Calibrums off Aphelios. They don't need the Aftershocks. But yeah, just hard run 3 Aftershocks. Hard run Explorer cards. Make sure you're always picking Explorer's Excavation. This deck should not present a threat to you in any way. And then obviously making sure that you have the answer for the early Nora so she doesn't run away with the game on her own. I think that's the only components to succeeding against this deck, and it should be relatively easy. Alright, this is Eternal King, signing out.